Hi, this is video 7 from that Little Guy in the Corner series on Norman Boulter. And can you name that excerpt? What excerpt is that? Well, let's put it this way. Not too long ago, I was conducting a brass orchestral rep class, and I love doing those for a variety of reasons. And we were playing that particular piece, which is Dvorak's Carnival Overture, in case you didn't get it from that very uninspired rendition of the opening. That's the first trombone part. And this was a whole brass sectional. And sometimes I like to do these pieces that you look at them and go, oh, that isn't hard. And it might not be. It certainly wasn't technically really difficult. It didn't have a lot of interval skips that someone would have to worry about. It wasn't at a terrifically fast speed or extreme range. But if you're going to play it uninspired, and the class did at that particular point, and the words that came to me were, it sounds like a combination of Arbans and Oatmeal. Now, which is curious when I think about it now, because that's the title of this video, Arbans and Oatmeal. Because I told them, one of the students raised their hand and says, after I said Arbans and Oatmeal, it sounds like Arbans and Oatmeal, they said, oh, that would be a great name for a podcast. So I said, hey, I'll make my next video on it. So for all you students who were in that class who are watching, hi from that little guy in the corner. I told you I would, because I think it's very important. When we're playing a piece of music, there's not unimportant parts in it. There might be parts that have to be shadowing other parts, or in the background, in the landscape, and not in the forefront, but they're not unimportant. Texturally, harmonically, and energetically, they are extremely important. So, Arbans and Oatmeal. It sounded like people were playing a ho-hum Arbans exercise. It kind of had the texture of a thick oatmeal. Now, when I think about the title now, I think, isn't that curious? Because Arbans is such a staple of a brass player's diet, at least trumpet, trombone, that I can think of. Or exercises like that, whether they come from Koprash or Bona, or wherever they might come from. But there's a certain very basic thing that's so important for us to work on. So if they become part of our daily routine, okay, it's part of our diet. At the same time, our playing diet, but at the same time, depending on what our attitude is when we play it, like, I know this is good for me, like I know I have to eat those peas, they used to say years ago, they're good for you, and you have to eat that before you get to your dessert. So before you work on your solos or anything else you want to work on, make sure you do the Arbans. And if that's your attitude, instead of a gratefulness that there are some exercises that are great for your air support system, your overall functioning of your reed, your embouchure structure, And they keep you in touch with those so absolutely important basics and fundamentals of brass playing. So have a gratefulness about it. Okay? That's my view. At the same time, when something appears in a solo or an ensemble of some kind of brass ensemble, mixed chamber music, or a huge orchestral piece, and you look at it and you go into your ho-hum Arbans mindset, it won't say anything except dull. And the oatmeal part came into it because oatmeal, if it doesn't have certain things on it, can be kind of dull. Even though for people who aren't, gluten intolerant, there is gluten in oatmeal. Shh. Or people who are allergic to oats, they can't enjoy the benefits of that. They have to get their nutrition somewhere else. Okay, so it's interesting that that kind of food can be nutritious for a diet, but a person can have a ho-hum attitude. And so to break that, they make sure they put some brown sugar and butter and maybe fruit on it, which kind of livens it up a bit. So I think putting a little, butter and strawberries and brown sugar on some of our Arbans attitude will be very useful. And if you had practiced doing that, you wouldn't look at something like Dvorak Carnival Overture and go, and the whole brass section did this, okay? And it took me a while to get everyone in saying, hey, to be able to play, wait a minute, this is not just a boring etude or your boring attitude coming through the oatmeal, through the etude. This is a piece. Carnival Overture, it feels like a carnival. It's actually Dvorak's Carnival Overture is second, I believe, in a series of 3 pieces. The carnival's called Life. I think there's another one called Nature and another one called Love. So why shouldn't we be energetic about that particular kind of passage? And not just go into, this isn't hard, ta 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 ba da. That's like useless, dead matter floating around in your body. It actually creates a toxicity. And certainly the attitude that would carry has a great toxicity. Now, that just wasn't louder or more articulate. It was more energized. And actually it had some feel for the syncopation and movement of that simple yet energetic, important part of the piece, rhythm and vibrancy. So if you're thinking there are boring parts, yes, I was in an orchestra for a long time. The Boston Symphony played, and still does, of course, plays huge range of pieces. And sometimes you wait along and go, and that might be the note that you play. Okay? But depending on the attitude, it can really make or break certain things. Now, a bad attitude on that one note when everyone else is playing wouldn't wreck that whole piece, whatever that was from. But you understand my point? Arbans and oatmeal. Or Arbans and oatmeal. That's a big difference. And I think it's worth some contemplating, and better yet, some application The next time you see one of these easy parts, just ask yourself, what are you contributing to the musical atmosphere with a ho-hum, this is boring attitude? It will come out in your playing.